Norris's errors have left Piastri as the sole championship leader. Now the Australian is the prey of a Verstappen who doesn't give up and a Norris who will try to redeem himself. Welcome then to the 11th round of the Formula 1 World Championship, the Austrian Grand Prix. We've arrived at the House of the Bulls, the place where Red Bull pays more attention than anywhere else on the calendar for their most special event of the year, looking for a way for Verstappen to get back into the fight. McLaren has a driver leading the standings, while still allowing both to race freely, and a Mercedes that's threatening to get into the fight. With all that in the bag, the Red Bull Ring, the home of this Grand Prix, has an unbeatable outlook for this race. Two teammates fighting, a driver aiming to rejoin the battle, and a team seeking to prove itself this weekend. Many open fronts, with a battle that could be electrifying at one of the best circuits on the planet. The leader may be comfortable in his position, but with a long way to go, even in this 2025, there's still time for things to change completely. Let's begin the preview of the 2025 Austrian Grand Prix of Formula 1. The events in Canada have given us a lot to talk about in recent weeks, but there's not much time to process it because the Grand Circus keeps moving forward, in a season that now seems to be a hunt against a young man who has surprised everyone. In this 2025 and with still half a season ahead, things can still change for everyone and practically for anyone at this point in the championship. With that in mind, Formula 1 heads to the Red Bull Ring, home of the Bull, aiming for victory and to intensify the Drivers' Championship battle. So, with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, to start off this preview, it's time to begin by getting to know the venue that will bring this new round of the Formula 1 World Championship to life. The Red Bull Ring, a permanent circuit built in 1970, is located in Styria. 4.3 kilometers of track, 71 laps, 10 turns 3, drag reduction system activation zones but only 2 potential areas to make any overtaking maneuvers. Characterized by being a circuit with challenging corners, difficult and extremely fast. The first sector is insanely fast. It has only 2 corners and 2 straights, with one of them being the longest on the entire circuit. That's why speed is vital in this sector and it's key for overtaking because it has 2 drag reduction system activation zones. The first one is on the main straight and is activated shortly after exiting turn 10. It's quite long, but it's mostly used to get close to rivals since it's hard to overtake in turn 1 because of its tricky corner angle. The second zone is the longest on the entire track, and it is activated almost right after exiting turn 1, and it stretches all the way up this hill until the braking zone at turn 3. It's a great overtaking zone, possibly the best on the circuit, but it has a major drawback we'll explain later. This sector is extremely fast, favoring cars that maximize their power and speed. Will definitely shine in this part of the circuit. In the second sector, we'll see both speed and technical skill. It features a significant straight and several braking zones, thus beginning the descent of this circuit after having climbed in the first part. It starts with the heavy braking at turn 3, which is accompanied by the last drag reduction system activation point. It extends from the exit of this corner to the braking zone at turn 4. It's a great spot for overtaking or countering attacks if you get better exit and traction out of turn 3. They're followed by a couple of fast corners like the downhill turn 6 where traction and speed are prioritized. The car's grip and stability are tested in the fast corner. So it ends up being a pretty complex sector which challenges the braking, speed and to a large extent the car's aerodynamic support. And the last sector is technical but with extremely fast corners. It only has 4. But each corner is a speed challenge that tests the aerodynamic capabilities of the single-seaters, especially corners 9 and 10, which are so fast that it's usually very easy to go beyond the track limits and get penalized, especially exiting turn 9. These are extremely tricky corners because of the high speed at which they're taken and because practically at the exit the drivers are going blind. So it's very difficult to know exactly where your car is to avoid crossing the track limits, making it necessary to take a precise line and have an extremely stable car. Also, it's very important to be careful on the exit of turn 10 where the drag reduction system is activated for the first zone. And with that, you complete the lap of this short but challenging circuit. I've said this many times in these videos. On paper, Austria seems like a simple circuit, but it's one of the most complex challenges in Formula 1. On a track that punishes traction, speed, braking and high-speed cornering in a circuit that has it all in a very small space. And in summary, in the first sector, the most important element is speed. In the second, brakes and traction. And in the third, the car's aerodynamic support to handle the extremely high-speed corners. As other facts to consider, this circuit has wide runoff areas, so it's very difficult for an accident to take out a competitor. But even so, there have been incidents that require the intervention of the safety car. On this circuit, it has appeared 13 times in the 20 Formula 1 races held here. This track has up to a 50% chance of this device appearing, so it's uncommon for it to show up, especially given all the runoff areas that prevent accidents. The track doesn't have a particularly dangerous spot, but there is one that, during battles, is prone to these situations, and that's turn number 3. Because of the speed and the angle of the corner, when the driver is battling, it's very common to see accidents from late braking and some other contact in a very tricky part of this track. So it's more likely that the safety car could appear here during a battle than at any other point on the circuit, although obviously, it's not something you can rule out. On this track, the brakes and traction aren't punished as much since there are very few slow corners that challenge these areas. Traction in fact is punished less than the brakes, which are pushed a bit more on this track, and to tackle the straights as slow corners and high-speed corners. The cars are usually set up with medium downforce setups to find a balance that makes the car perform well in each of the corners on this track. Overtaking at the Red Bull Ring is possible due to its long straights and drag reduction system zones, but it's not an easy task considering how narrow the track can get at certain points. And in fact, it has 2 zones that can be crucial for any driver when looking to make an overtaking move. The first is in the drag reduction system zone, from the exit of turn 1 to the braking zone at turn 3 where, due to the length of this straight with drag reduction system overtaking is possible. However, for that to happen, the driver behind must exit turn 1 well and slipstream down the straight, completing the maneuver before turn 3's braking zone or braking aggressively to secure the inside line, especially to prevent the other driver from forcing you off the track. The problem with this drag reduction system zone in particular is that the detection zone for the next drag reduction system straight is right before the corner. If you overtake, you give them a chance to counterattack with drag reduction system in the second best overtaking zone, the straight that follows turn number 3. To overtake here, you must get better traction out of turn 3 than your rival and follow them down the straight. Again, trying to capture the inside or brake very late into turn 4 to try to get the apex and avoid being pushed off the track, because this is very important. The driver must secure the inside, as staying outside risks being pushed off the track. Because the runoff area is gravel, there's a risk of damaging the car's floor or losing significant time in an unrecoverable maneuver. So on this track, on a scale from 1 to 5, its overtaking difficulty is a 3, difficult. But it's not so hard that overtaking maneuvers are impossible. At the Red Bull Ring pit lane, you drive at 80 km/h, making transit fast. Its entrance bypasses turn 10 and its exit bypasses turn 1. Total pit stop time, including tire change, is about 20 to 21 seconds. And the tire wear on this track, could we consider it to be about average? The main challenge is the asphalt's high abrasion and the stress it places on the tires. The rubber and lateral loads are more balanced, so the track has medium abrasion. However, Pirelli will bring a soft range to the circuit just like last year, which will favor tire wear and could make a 2-stop strategy the primary option for the race. The available tires for this competition are the C3, C4 and C5, which are the soft range from the Italian manufacturer. Austria is challenging, demanding car balance since each sector is unique. Both cars and drivers are tested on a circuit requiring surgical precision, punishing you with strict track limits on a circuit that rarely forgives mistakes. And since it's a circuit with sharp elevation changes, heavy braking zones and insanely fast corners, the most well-balanced drivers can find a huge opportunity to shine here. Piastri leads the drivers' standings, with Lando Norris 22 points behind and Max Verstappen 43 points back. Since the Miami Grand Prix, he has been the one hunted. In this race, his rivals urgently need to take points from him to stay alive in the fight for the driver's title, and to start catching Piastri, who has rarely made mistakes or given in this season. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to start analyzing in this video, one by one, the teams and drivers of this 11th round of the Formula 1 World Championship. For the first time since the season started, we didn't see a McLaren on the podium in the last race. That was at the Canadian Grand Prix. And the thing is, even though in terms of pace, Norris and Piastri seem to be a bit faster than their rivals, the McLaren 39 ended up facing a circuit that minimized its strengths, and after struggling in qualifying, there was little they could do on Sunday. However, now many people are wondering if McLaren will actually start to struggle on this type of circuit or also on other tracks on the calendar. We hadn't seen a performance drop like this all season. So Austria should either clear up the doubts many have about the strength of the orange car or confirm that its dominance might have started to fade a bit. On this circuit, with Pirelli's chosen tire range, the rear tires will take a heavy beating and risk overheating. And that's taking into account the team's great strength in tire management along with the characteristics of the track. Should that return them to their usual winning form? And that's going to be one of the most important topics to watch with McLaren. But there's another important topic, and that's that Lando Norris in Canada, while battling with his teammate, ended up colliding with him and retiring from the race. Norris took all the damage, finishing that Grand Prix with 0 points. And now the difference in the driver's standings is 22 points with his teammate. The team says they'll keep supporting the British driver throughout the 2025 season despite the situation. Norris will keep using the front suspension update introduced in Canada. He appears more comfortable with the car on this suspension, and reportedly, Piastri rejected it himself. McLaren is not likely to start favoring either of its two drivers, although the World Championship is halfway done and nearing its end. But the truth is that Norris has made too many mistakes this season and needs Austria to be his turning point if he doesn't want his chance to become world champion to slip away little by little. Norris needs to move past what happened in Canada this race, or things will get much more complicated for him until the season ends. One of the biggest surprises of the last Grand Prix, without a doubt, was Mercedes, whose pace was surprising and overwhelming. This gave them their first win of the season and first double podium since last year's Las Vegas Grand Prix. Given how disastrous the triple header before Canada was, this result was a big surprise for the German team. However, before Mercedes can be considered a regular winner, from now on note that Canada matched the W16's strengths, which performed well on low-speed corner circuits. Low degradation and cool temperatures greatly contributed to their first win of the season. But it's also important to point out that the updates they brought to the floor and the revised rear suspension seem to have worked, giving positive competitiveness to the Brackley team. According to statements from Simon Resta, the deputy technical director of Mercedes for this competition in Austria, they will bring new parts to boost their pace and show more strength to help them compete with Red Bull and McLaren. It may be hard for them to repeat their Canada result here since Austria is a very different circuit. High temperatures are expected under these conditions. Austria will be a challenge for Mercedes and victory may not be as attainable, but it will help to understand the progress the German team has made since the start of the season and confirm the strength we saw from them at the Canadian Grand Prix. Ferrari's situation remains critical due to their poor results compared to 2024. Rumors are spreading that Ferrari may be starting its usual cycle again, firing Frédéric Vasseur from the position of team principal. For now, it's just a rumor that's grown stronger in recent races. However, knowing Ferrari, I wouldn't be surprised if they're about to start another restructuring in the team. Canada was another tough Grand Prix for the Italian team due to several issues, including Hamilton's car being damaged by a groundhog incident, the terrible strategy with Charles Leclerc, and the poor race pace that didn't allow them much more in this race. So the progress they had been showing in the past races seems to have collapsed all at once. This team is reportedly working on upgrades likely debuting at the British Grand Prix, and they still aren't fully focused on next season's car. The conditions at the Austrian circuit might suit Ferrari more than those in Canada. Given Mercedes' progress, it's tough to say if they'll remain the third strongest team this championship, but perhaps the last great hope for the Tifosi to finish the year more decently lies in the updates that are yet to come. And maybe it's also the last great hope for Frédéric Vasseur to keep his seat for next season. Thanks for watching the video. Red Bull is racing at home this weekend on the circuit in their country that bears their name, the circuit. Victory is their top priority here, more than anywhere else on the calendar. In theory, this track suits the RB21 which Verstappen is driving, a win that lets him triumph on his home track and helps the Dutchman narrow the gap to Norris and Piastri in the Formula 1 World Drivers' Championship race. And this will be the last race in which Max Verstappen will have to be extremely careful not to be penalized. Since the day after the Austrian Grand Prix, 2 points will be deducted from his super license. That should let him race aggressively as usual without constantly risking a race ban if he goes too far. Verstappen will be seeking another win on his home turf. It might be difficult if McLaren shows its usual strength again, especially considering the hot conditions and tire wear. But because of its characteristics, the track should at least suit the energy drink team's car. Williams again left a Grand Prix without points after their reliability fiasco in Canada. Along with poor strategies, Carlos Sainz's qualifying was hurt by Isaac Hadjar impeding him. The issue is the team wasted a key chance to score in Canada because they're focused on 2026. Additionally, as upcoming circuits may not suit their car, their constructors' lead could gradually shrink. That's why Williams needs a strong weekend. Stopped. Although on a circuit like this, they could have a tough race if they don't find the right setup from Friday and have a good Saturday session. So we'll have to see if they're able to turn around the bad streak they've been having, or if other teams start to seriously threaten their position in the constructors' standings. Despite facing a tough circuit in Canada, Haas earned points that put them back in 6th in the constructors' standings. And what about Austria? The motivation is high, and they hope that the Red Bull Ring will give them another great opportunity to add more points to their tally. We'll see if they are able to do it because, as we've said many times, the midfield is extremely tight, and anything can happen with the teams that make up these positions, especially in the constructors' standings. The Racing Bulls in Canada were on a circuit that didn't suit them, and as Hadjar said, everything went wrong for them. Still, they are confident and motivated for the Red Bull Chase race, trusting their car will perform much better than in Canada. And with that, they hope to regain their good pace to continue the chase against the Williams team. On the other hand, there has been a slight improvement from Liam Lawson in the last few races, but overall he is still far behind his teammate. And there are already voices saying that Red Bull is preparing things for Arvid Lindblad. That he will take his car next season, which would most likely leave him out of Formula 1. If he wants to keep his seat, he must become stronger than Hadjar, now more than ever. His stay in the top category of motorsport will be much shorter than he is expecting and probably would have wished. The Green Team, at least on Fernando Alonso's side, has shown that their step forward is real, and the Asturian has already scored points in 2 races, with a great level that has allowed them to at least move up from 9th place in the constructors' standings. They are set to bring a major upgrade package to Silverstone. That consolidates their pace and helps the team compete better in midfield. For now, once again, points seem hard to come by, but at least for this particular race they look quite achievable. If Fernando Alonso, starting Saturday, manages to secure strong qualifying sessions as usual. And with this, the team starts to recover little by little to try to finish the year as decently as possible. Sauber confirms their progress by scoring points in 2 consecutive races. And according to the Automotoren Sports portal, Sauber could have an upgrade package for Austria, which would strengthen their race pace and improve their qualifying performance, to give both Hülkenberg and Bortoleto the chance to score points more consistently, helping them move out of the lower positions in the constructors' standings. This would further confirm the Swiss team's recent progress in races. Could it be that, after being at the bottom of the table, they now have a great opportunity to fight for more than just a 9th place in this 2025 season? Things with Alpine remain complicated, especially as another restructuring follows Renault Chief Executive Officer Luca De Meo's departure, adding even more uncertainty to the team. So all we can do is hope that the team keeps restructuring itself as it has been doing in an almost endless way. But with the path to 2026 underway, all this movement doesn't seem positive. For this race, the French team aims to score points, but Gasly and Colapinto both need a lesson session. It's especially hard for their car to make a comeback and overtake. So if they manage to nail a great Saturday, their chances will open up, and they're more desperate than ever to get out of the bottom of the standings, where even Sauber has shown a much more competitive and solid car than the Alpine team agent. The weather looks calm in Styria this weekend for the new World Championship round. As of today, there is a 0% chance of rain on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. The entire race weekend is expected to have sunny skies and, of course, high temperatures ranging between 27 and 29 degrees during Saturday and Sunday. So, ladies and gentlemen, get ready for a weekend with a dry track but high temperatures for this new round, to be raced on Austrian soil. Finally, let's end this preview with historical facts about the Grand Prix and its circuit, so you can take some trivia home with you from this race weekend and from this beautiful track, the Red Bull Ring. Austria is a regular historic presence on the Formula 1 calendar with strong tradition. This Grand Prix debuted on the official calendar in 1964, held only once at the Zellweg airfields. From 1970 to 1987, Formula 1 was held at the Österreichring. The circuit was abandoned for being extremely dangerous, with its original version nearly 6 kilometers long. To bring Formula 1 back in 1997, the track was shortened to its current 4.3 kilometer length. In 2003, the last race was held, as the track was abandoned again for being too dangerous. And it wasn't until 2014, after Red Bull bought the circuit, that it returned to the calendar, hosting that competition continuously from that year until now. Besides hosting the Styrian Grand Prix, it also served as a replacement for some races during the pandemic. Austria has had just 13 Formula 1 drivers, but 2 became world champions. The first of them was Jochen Rindt, the German-Austrian driver who won the world title in 1970. Their most famous historical figure is Niki Lauda, who won the world title in 1975 and 1977. And in 1984 of the Formula 1 World Championship, he is the only Austrian to win his home Grand Prix, doing so in 1984. Carlos Sainz set the fastest Formula 1 race lap at this circuit in 2020, driving his McLaren 35 with a time of 1:05.619. McLaren, Ferrari and Mercedes are tied with the highest number of victories achieved in this Grand Prix, with a total of 6 for both teams, and this year they have the opportunity to break the tie. If any of them manage to win that race and become the sole top winner at the Red Bull Ring, what about the drivers? The all-time top winner of this competition is Maximilian Verstappen has 4 wins, achieved in 2018, 2019, 2021 and 2023. Being the absolute king at this circuit when it comes to victories. And with that, wrapping up the last piece of information for today's preview. This, ladies and gentlemen, we finished the preview of the 2025 Austrian Grand Prix of Formula 1, but this is where I ask you, do you think McLaren's slump was just something that happened in Canada? Or will we see weaknesses again in this Grand Prix? Could anyone take the win from the Orange team? Let me know who you think will be the top 3 drivers on the podium after the Austrian Grand Prix on Sunday. Let me know all your opinions in the comments section. I'll say goodbye. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so you know when I'm uploading a new video, and share this with your friends as well. So I invite you to follow us on our Instagram and Twitter accounts. The links will be in the description of this video. And I'll see you this Sunday, for the recap at the end of the competition at the Red Bull Ring. Thanks for tuning in. See you later.